The amount of money at stake is mind-boggling. Starmer and BlackRock and all these parasitic banksters and corporations, they have carved Ukraine up. So that money grab collapses. Do you remember when the guy we interviewed said that they've froze $250 billion in Russian assets, and Starmer and his cronies get the interest off that money while it is frozen? Can you imagine what the interest is on $250 billion in Russian assets? So they want sanctions on Russia. They want the war with Ukraine and Russia to keep going. They don't care about the over 1 million young people who've died in the meat grinder. They'll happily send more young people to the meat grinder and claim they're doing the right thing because Putin is Hitler. And if he doesn't stop, we don't stop him in Ukraine, he's going to go to Poland and he's going to domino effect. He's going to take all over Europe and we'll be next. Absolute BS. And I'm disappointed in Piers Morgan for repeating that claptrap. I don't know whether he repeats the claptrap sometimes because he wants to keep the position he's in, which does enable him to have a lot of interesting guests on. Because if you look at Piers Morgan's analytics on Social Blade shows people's monthly views and stuff, and Piers Morgan has gone parabolic in the last year, especially since he's had guests on debating Israel-Palestine. He's gone parabolic. And he has had a lot of people on giving both sides, people who wouldn't have been put on normally by mainstream media. So he is serving a good function. And I mean, I'm happy to say, Annie, that Ryan, he's told me that he's had some 80% recovery in one eye. In fact, I'm sure he won't mind me reading you guys this because I know a lot of love and support has been sent over. All right, so I've been sending him, viewers, I've been sending Ryan Dawson messages about various drugs and injections he can use for his eyes because he's going blind. And I've been sending him those, and he said, I got an injection now. Today it's like 80% gone. I'm using anti-VEGF plus lutein, lutein supplement daily, plus shades everywhere, and copious amounts of pineapple. So thanks everyone who sent love and support over to Ryan. He really appreciates it. So BB says Starmer can't keep his sausage to himself. Steph says, do you think Starmer's marriage is just a cover for his real sexual identity? Steph, the sad thing is that many of our political leaders, and this includes the Obamas, the Macrons, the Clintons, they are partners in power, these couples. I learned this when I was researching the Clintons. I've researched and written extensively about the Clintons, and it really opened my eyes to how these political couples are constructed by intelligence. And, you know, there's a book called Partners in Power, actually, about the Clintons, which I would recommend. There's no love there. They're just psychopathic deviants. They're more interested in power than money, but money is a huge part of it as well. And on the rise to power, they'll just do anything proper. What was his name? House of Cards. Was it Derek Underwood or Frank Underwood? They're straight like those people. And the public personas are completely manufactured by the media. So whatever profiles you're reading about the Obamas when they're in power, the Macrons when they're in power, the Clintons when they're in power, whatever profiles the mainstream media are putting out of these people, it's all completely fake. And probably the complete opposite is true. I mean, when Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas, and you can research Jennifer Flowers, the multiple lawsuits that were settled, NDA signed, women alleging SA and R word. Hillary hired private investigators to find out who the women were that Bill was sleeping with. And people died. Pets died. People got thrown off balconies. And this was Hillary not jealous of Bill sleeping with these women, silencing these women so that the rise to power would not be threatened. When Bill allegedly ended up in hospital for snorting the white powder with nasal septum damage, allegedly Hillary stormed into the hospital, threatened all the nurses and the staff, saying that they would all lose their jobs and they would never work again if any word came out about what Bill Clinton would be doing. And Bill's half-brother Roger got arrested buying the white powder from an undercover cop. And he said Bill's got a nose like a vacuum cleaner. And the undercover cop knew he had to get in the news quickly, otherwise the whole thing would get covered up, because it was Clinton's half-brother, Roger. And they held a crisis meeting with the PR people and the lawyers, and the Clintons decided to send Roger to prison and to use it to show that they were not above the law. Can you believe it? How crafty and cunning is that? They're not above the law, folks. They are upstanding moral citizens. Look, our own half-brother got arrested and he's gone to prison. They turn everything to their advantage, folks. Everything. They never let a crisis go to waste. These guys read Machiavelli, The Art of War, Robert Greene. They're like characters out of Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power. This is why I've never trusted anyone who's become a leader. And I've never voted. And because they're constructs. They have to play ball with the intelligence agencies. The Clintons played ball with the CIA and the Bush crime family. George H.W. Bush voted for Hillary Clinton, the old ass grabber before he expired. Going round in his Zimmer in his wheelchair, grabbing asses. Allegedly. Voted for Hillary. And that's a Republican. Because those two mafia families were in bed with each other, going back to the importation of the white powder. Coordinated by Felix Rodriguez, who was under George H.W. Bush. I think he was the guy who hunted down and killed Che Guevara. And then Oliver North, remember him, the colonel who got up? He took the fall, Iran-Contra. He was the fall guy, the underboss for George H.W. Bush, the ass grabber. Oliver North had diaries documenting the kilos of the white powder. Anyway, I've written a book called Who Killed Barry Seal, George H.W. Bush or Pablo Escobar. And if you saw my interview with Pablo Escobar's son, and I said to him, who was the biggest dealer in the 80s? Was it your dad or George H.W. Bush? He said it was definitely George H.W. Bush. That's the only time Pablo Escobar's son cracked a smile with me when I was interviewing him. He was very, very poker-faced. Yeah. So, no, I don't believe any of these guys' marriages are real at all. There is a disproportionate amount of bearding with the politicians and with the elites and with the BBC TV presenters and with the IV TV presenters. It is prolific. I think they've got to have some kind of agency for connecting political leaders and BBC presenters with their beards. Some kind of secretive agency that can keep this under wraps in association with MI5 and the CIA. We will guarantee your beard will never get exposed. If anyone finds out, MI5 and the CIA will be all over them, threatening them, silencing them, so you can get on TV or you can run the country and pretend you are a man or woman of moral values and raise your babies to the sky and say goo goo gaga and pull their cheeks. And next thing, once the cameras are off, you are gravitating towards another kind of cheeks that our young lads provide on the screen. Without the buns. Getting off track again, guys. Getting off track. Getting off track. Blur's beard. Rent a beard. They've got to have some like high-end rent a beard place whereby all these beard women get screened by MI5. Well, I pride myself on my sensible journalism, folks. What has happened tonight? Seth delaying his appearance has caused a mass deterioration in the tone of the channel. And I apologize to anyone who may be offended. Who may be offended. Right, I'm reading Seth's email now. Seth, this is all your fault. I'm running I'll be home in 60 minutes, just a few minutes late. Bear with me, please. I'll be on the call sent from my iPhone. We've got 25 more minutes of debauchery. Beard women. Beard. You know what? One of my first ever videos, folks. Oh my God, you're going to have a laugh at this if you've not seen it before. One of the first ever videos I did on this channel was with the bearded lady of Guildford. And I don't think she's even alive anymore. So this is like iconic in the annals of famous English bearded women. Put one in the chat if you want me to resurrect and show you the video of me talking to the bearded lady of Guildford. Put a 2 in the chat if that's too bizarro for this evening and you'd rather not. I think I've got a few little sections with Brenda. All right, yeah, we've got 2. They're only short. Let's go for it, shall we? While we wait for Seth. I'm always telling Ron off for just trying to. If you're waiting for a guest, don't waffle. And here I am, waffling like mad. Oh, it's a 1. It's a 1. Let's go back to the bearded lady of Guildford. Oh my goodness. Let me see what year this was. Let me just put bearded in the search box. This was 2011, folks. 14 years ago. Seems like yesterday. I'll get the short clip up first. I'm not taking the mickey. This is a genuine bearded lady. Brenda. There she is. Show this tab instead. Bearded Lady of Guildford with author Shaun Attwood, part 1 of 2. Full screen. Let me know. Hello, Kathy in Germany. Brenda sends greetings and thank you for the earrings. And she hopes to see you out in Guildford again here soon. All right, bye. Say hello, Kathy.
Hello, Kathy. Thank you for the earrings.
She said thank you for the earrings.
Very nice of you.
Stop. All right, let me give the context on this one. So back then, I was dating a German lady that I met on MySpace. Remember MySpace? And I would always kick it with Brenda. She used to hang out in the McDonald's in Guildford. And, you know, I would sit and talk to her. Lots of people were taking photos of Brenda on the sly and putting them online. But I would talk to Brenda, and I would ask if I could take a little video with her. And when I went to Germany, my girlfriend Kathy in Germany bought some earrings for Brenda, so that when I came back from Germany, we gave Brenda the earrings, and she loved them. She adored them. And this was a thank you message back to Kathy for being so thoughtful. With getting these earrings. Yeah. So let me get the 2-minute one up now. Let's see. Bearded. Here we go. This one was published in May 2011 as well. Bearded Lady of Guildford with Over Shaun Attwood Part 2. Oh, I don't see a Part 1 anywhere. Where's the Part 1 gone? All right, here she is, yeah. My cinematography wasn't so good back then. Didn't have a very good setup. Just throw my phone on the table, I think, in this one. Share this one. Let's make it big.
Okay, it was so hot in the jail.
Yeah.
Our skin was so sweaty.
Yeah, I've cut half a face off, sadly. I couldn't see the camera. And I'm talking to her about the jail conditions in Arizona. I've been writing about it.
When we scratched ourselves, clumps of our skin came off under our nails.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There was dead rats in the food.
Oh,
We would complain to the guards about the dead rats.
yeah.
And then they would come back and they would tell us they were just potatoes, so the jail wouldn't get in any trouble. Not only were the guards murdering the inmates, I mean, the gang members, such as the Aryan Brotherhood, were murdering the inmates, as well as the guards. And the guards that were murdering the inmates, the sheriff, the boss of the jail, promoted them. And all this is in my book, Hard Time. Yeah. And we're going to be doing the book signing tomorrow here in Guildford.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I was inviting her to my book signing at this point. And she, at the end of it, I asked her what she thought about the conditions in the jail. And she said they should have palaces. They should have palaces. That was a brilliant response, I thought, from Brenda. British sarcasm at its finest. All right, let me go back to, where were we? Starmer. So if you've joined us, folks, this is the subject of the night. We read the article that's come out in the Russian press that Craig has sent me. It's called Starmer's Sausages. The British Prime Minister did not pay the Ukrainians for escort services. And the gist is that these three lads on the screen decided to take revenge on Starmer and set fire to the house. This has been reported by the Ukrainian TV channel Politics of the Country, who've been referencing the British media. And then it describes Roman working in construction, having a contract with a modeling agency, regularly attending a gym in South London, agrees to take any job at £20 per hour versus minimum wage of £13 per hour. There are rumors that he allegedly provides intimate photos and has bread for money, as in carnal relations for money. And the other guy worked part-time at construction sites and dreamed of becoming a famous model. There are rumors in British social networks that Starmer allegedly knew the guys who call themselves escorts, aka rent boys or call boys. And it is said that the guys have took revenge on Starmer for allegedly not paying them off. The British Prime Minister has not commented on this in any way, but numerous memes and jokes on the topic have appeared in British social networks. And this is extra suspicious because Starmer did this recent public AIDS test and also did a slip of the tongue when he called the Israeli hostages sausages. Instead of hostages, he said sausages. And now these 3 Ukrainian guys are jokingly being called STARMER'S SAUSAGES. Did Sir Keir take the knee? Didn't he have to get down on his knee to accept his knighthood? Michael, they will fix your roof and your back door. Whatever's creaky and more open than it should be, they will certainly tighten it up, Michael. I agree. Andy, Carpenter's Arms was a good boozer in Guildford in the early 80s. Ooh. Yeah, Jen was domiciled in Guildford when we met. And she had an affinity for some of the old man's pubs. I was living with DJ Mike Hotwells at the time, and he also had an affinity for some of the old men's pubs. Let's see. So we've got 15 minutes before we get Seth in. Oh, Shane, the guest booker, is back now with a vengeance. Shane has sent me messages, very long messages, saying he was back about 5 times now in recent weeks, swearing undyingly that he was back for show. But then sadly his mum got ill and he had to postpone coming back. But he's back now, and his first guest was the Punisher. If you missed the Punisher interview, wow, what an absolutely lovely guy, despite the heinous activities of Diddy, the things that he was forcing Cassie into. In summary, the Punisher would arrive at a hotel room. He didn't know who was in it. He just had a call from this lady that was Cassie, but he didn't know it was Cassie. When the Punisher would arrive at the room, he would be greeted by Cassie, who was disguised in a wig. And then when the action was about to commence, he'd be put into a room with Diddy in the corner, completely naked, wearing a Muslim burqa, playing with his man parts, and the action would commence, whereby the baby oil, Diddy's baby oil, would be put on the Punisher and Cassie, and they would baby oil each other up, and it would increase. Let's just say the carnal activities would increase from there. And this went on for a couple of years. Spooky is saying, is this true about Starmer or just allegedly? It's all allegedly. In fact, Ron has created a special banner for allegedly. Let's get it up. There we go. There it is. There's the banner. Thank you, Ron, for creating that banner. Yeah, thank you. Great interview with Sheree the Punisher. Yeah. And, you know, I have been listening to all of the trial coverage, and it's mind-blowing what Cassie went through, and I was horrified to hear about the problems with her mouth, whereby she could, you know, barely eat food properly because her mouth was so ulcerated from the oral activity she was forced into for days. And she had all these UTIs, so many UTIs in a row that the meds stopped working on them. And she was in absolute agony because she couldn't fix her UTIs. And Diddy was still forcing her into the free cuffs. And she couldn't fix her UTIs. So she was in pain and having to take other drugs to mask the pain that the UTIs were causing. So she was in absolute agony at the end of this. And she was with him, what, for over 10 years? The Punisher was doing these cook sessions for 2 years with them. The Punisher never attended any free cuffs. it was just, he showed up. He didn't even know it was them in the beginning. The only reason he found out it was them, because when he was told to wait in one of these hotel rooms, he put the TV on, and the TV was like, "Thank you for booking this hotel, Sean Combs." That kind of a message came on the screen. And that's when he realized. And then did he stop wearing the Muslim burqa at some point and just started to wear a baseball cap? So, yeah, I mean, as horrific as these things were that happened to Cassie, the Punisher, there was no signs given to the Punisher. He comes across as an absolute gentleman, because people are asking me, did the Punisher see bruises? Did he know what Cassie was going through, etc.? That question kept going up over and over. But he answered early on that there was no indication to him of the suffering that she was going through. And he made it clear on Piers Morgan that when he did hear frustration in Cassie's voice when Diddy was giving commands, that it was because she was frustrated at Diddy giving commands. The frustration hadn't come across to him that she was exasperated by being put into all of these activities by Diddy. It certainly was freaky business tactics. The Punisher would, he had a website, he's got this GIMP mask, and that's how they found him. But he was only an exotic dancer, and they offered him so much money. That's how he crossed the line into becoming a male escort for that period of time during his career. And he was using a pump in the beginning. When he first started out as a male dancer, he did so because his girlfriend, his high school sweetheart, became a stripper and broke his heart and dumped him and said she was meeting all these men. And he thought if he got a job as a stripper, he could win her back. And he almost did, but she ended up running off with another male stripper. So his career path then was as a male stripper, not as an escort. And then Diddy and Cassie come along, and he's getting offered so much money. His rate was like $200, and they were giving like 600, 800, 1,000. And they tempted him into carnal relations. And he said Cassie was so good looking. He was only in his 20s, high testosterone. He went for it. He went for it. But he became known as the Punisher because in the beginning he was pumping his privates up to 12 inches. But when and the way he did it, his privates would stay up for the duration of his dances. But when he went home, the shrinkage set in and he was back to normal. And some females, when they saw him normal, they were disappointed in his size. So he felt like he had to start taking certain big pharma medications to pump up his Prince William. And the long-term effects of that kick in. And the Punisher wrote a book about ED and how anxiety, stress over getting an E causes you ED. Because the blood vessels are constrained. You need to be relaxed for the blood vessels to be open to load the cylinders. And ultimately, the Punisher got an implant which opens the cylinders and cranks his Prince William back into full, let's say, saluting status, like when he was a young man, fully erect. His Prince William is now standing proud and strong, like when he was in his teenage 20s years. And he's proud of that, but he regrets, that he was sidetracked by the temptations of sleeping with so many women and forfeited having a family and having children. That was one of his regrets. He's such an authentic, genuine soul, guys. So I would urge you to watch the interview we did with the Punisher and also the interview we did, I think it was on the 19th of this month with Juliette Bryant. They were two of my favorite interviews that I've done this month. We've got the one with Anna Lee, MK Ultra Survivor, coming out soon. And I just looked at the trailer. It's phenomenal. Let's see how many more minutes we got. We've got 8 minutes left. Do you guys want to see the MK Ultra Survivor trailer we've got coming on, Anna Lee? And hear what she says? Because she's also a survivor of tunnels. She was getting human transported into tunnels. If you want to see that trailer, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2. And then we'll go over to Seth. Let me see. MK Ultra. MK Ultra. There it is. Anna Lee trailer. Yeah, looks like a lot of you guys want to see this while we're waiting for Seth. Let me get that in. All right. There we go. Play. Yeah, the Rosetta Stone. Starts out with the Rosetta Stone. Here we go. It should be on the screen. Share this instead. Right. It should be coming up on your screen now. Got the Rent Boys off. Yeah, there we go. There's still some play.
The rituals happen. You know, the Rosetta Stone was used in Ritual with Me. If you want a little brushstroke visual on that, think of like the Da Vinci Code scene with the sexual event on the rock. Okay, I just remember that and being off to the side in robes. So the memory is like a paper airplane in the dark. So when I get these bits back, the piece I got with tunnels from Smithsonian, I'm on a cart. It is yellow metal. It's like one of those little airport transport kind of carts, you know, so it's open. There's no seatbelt for me. I'm probably drugged because when I get the memory back, that's what it feels like. I'm holding on to a little bar and I can see like chipped yellow paint in my hand, and then we're in, and then I just get F3 written in like military sort of stencil in yellow on the wall. And that, so yes, tunnels. But then years later, in my 20s, we went, I was dating this guy who had been a sniper in the Marine Corps, and I got this van and we're traveling around, and I'm like, we gotta go to DC. And so we go to DC, and I find this set of stairways right next to the Red Castle, the Smithsonian Red Castle. And I know that if we go down those stairs, this is the ticket. How did I know this? I don't know. I was there when I was 10. We go down these stairs. I go through the door like I'm nobody's business, and I, you know, look like a crazy hippie like I do now. And next thing you know, we're walking down these underground passageways that lead to the Library of Congress. And we go through, and you know, there's people with proper badges and, you know, the you know, MAGA mask type outfit, right? I just call it that because it's a great term, but you know, the Washington DC look, you know, proper, and here we are, like clearly not from around here, and we're walking down these hallways, and we show up and we're in the Library of Congress, and I'm like, how did I know that we would turn up in the Library of Congress? And then we walk out the front door of the Library of Congress and go about our business and try and find our way back to where we had parked the crazy purple painted with a roller hippie van parked on the street. And I'm like, how did I know? So yes, tunnels all the time. Always associated with trains or some kind of transport carts, and military stencil lettering on the wall, usually a letter and then a number signifier.
So what do you think of that, folks? Was that something else or what? She's a phenomenal guest, and she was referred to us by Charlie Robinson, who has interviewed her on his own Macroaggressions podcast. Let's see, we're almost at 10 o'clock here in the UK. So Seth should be arriving any moment. I'm just reading the chat. Very spooky, yeah. Indeed it was. Get them likes up, guys. Thank you, Bailey. We've had a blast this evening if you've tuned in. We have all been MK Ultra'd. Indeed. They've run, like, the Manson family was the experiment that they parlayed through the CIA onto everyone to make the war protesters and the hippie community look like bad people. They wanted to completely shatter the image of the peaceful hippie. So they used the Manson family, and we interviewed the guy who wrote Chaos on this channel to do that. They saw with the lab rat experiments, putting people on LSD and amphetamines, they would gang our word and cannibalize and kill and form marauding gangs of rats and mice that did said crimes. So that's basically what they unleashed to the world via the Manson family. It was a successful MK Ultra program. Some say, was that MK Ultra gone wrong? No, it was successful. Get Hamamoto on, please. We love Hamamoto. Has he been in the chat tonight? We will get him on. We have been moving and shaking on this Keir Starmer story all week. It's took up a lot of our time. And we have interviewed quite a few survivors. We had Gloria Masters on early in the week. Right, it's at 10 now. Let me double check and see if Seth should be coming in any minute. I'll see if he sent any other emails. No. I reckon he'll be here any minute though. Let me keep reading the chat while we are awaiting him. He has confirmed he's coming in a minute. No Hamamoto tonight, but also welcome indeed. Yes, like connection. They didn't want free thinkers. Absolutely. Professor was dropping the... Oh, man. Hamamoto cracked me up. When he starts doing that accent. Keir Starmer. Free speech, that sounded very fishy. Can you believe Keir Starmer is trying to say that we are a proud nation of free speech absolutionists while putting 30 people a day in prison for social media posts, including our friend who we interviewed who was a former Royal Marine? Absolutely disgusting and hypocritical. And I loved it when Trump and Vance called him out on free speech, and Starmer was just giggling, saying, yes, Britain prides itself on their free speech. I don't know whether the question went over his head or whether he's that delusional to not know how the public perceive him. Is he just completely surrounded by yes men? Has he not read the responses on his own Twitter just blasting him? Has he not seen the polls this week showing he's the least liked prime minister in the history of polls in this country? Yes, Susan, Trump needs to do a follow-up. Well, apparently, with Connolly and people like that who are in prison for the tweets, apparently there's a rumor that Trump and Elon Musk are looking into making America a safe haven for people to come to from this country who are being persecuted and not allowed to have their free speech. Isn't this how it all began in the first place, with the pilgrims and the people fleeing, going to the States because they were getting persecuted? Has it gone full circle with Keir Stasi Starmer? How much free speech are the Russian, Ukrainian escorts going to be allowed when they get up in court? How denoticed and gagged are they going to be by Stasi Starmer's terrorist unit? Bailey, Steeples needs help. What kind of help does he need? He's not fallen asleep on another stream, has he? I hope not. That would not be good. Exactly, Blue Nomad. Starmer is an agent playing his part, and these agents are quite often, they're compromised. And that's why they're allowed to rise in power. And, you know, David Icke told us this a long time ago, and some of us were skeptical. How can our beloved leaders portray themselves as, you know, raising babies up in public and kissing them and saying that they're family people, posing with their wives, and now it's all coming out. They're all beards, and they're even having kids with their beards to perpetuate the myths that they are real people and not complete fakes. It's disgusting. Steeples is depressed, the Blue Nomad is saying. Oh, well, that's not good. We've invited him to come and stay at our house. I will reach out to him again and send him another invitation to come and stay at our house, because he's a delight. Steeples is not happy because he has run out of mini cheddars. Well, guess what? Guess who else loves mini cheddars, folks? Baby Ziggy. Mini cheddars ahoy. Baby Ziggy is a mini cheddars monster. Yeah, he's peculiar in his eating. He's as peculiar in his eating habits as his father. Jen often points out the parallels. Dawn is really worried about me. Oh, I've heard Seth come in the stream, folks. Let me have a look. Let's see. Adds a stage. Yeah, he's setting his camera up, folks. I can see Steph right now. Getting himself balanced out. So, if you have not seen Seth on Soft White Underbelly, he is an excellent guest. And when I end this video, you will be sent over to that one. But it is a heartbreaking story of childhood SA. So be warned what you're getting into. If this video does not take you over to it, then just press the channel icon. We will be lit up. And it will take you to it. Ziggy is more competent to run the country than Starmer. Thank you, BB. Couldn't agree with you more. Right, I'm ending this one.